Today on the channel, it's the return of the Kyle Peterson Top 5, and today, we're talking all things Crush.
The spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Welcome everyone, Kyle here, and welcome back to the channel for another edition of the Kyle Peterson Top 5, a Thursday tradition here on the channel where every single Thursday I'm counting down my top 5 and occasional top 10 favorites of something, and today we finally hit that point in life. Yes, life. We are counting down the top 5 Crush figures of all time. Now we're talking all things Bryan Adams, all different Crush gimmicks throughout the years. Even Chronic figures could be a part of this. Anything Bryan Adams. It truly is the summer of '69 here today, I guess we'll say it. But Bryan Adams, a longtime staple of wrestling, of course, in the 90s especially. And a guy that had a lot of different gimmicks over the years. It's kind of funny when you sit back and think of him, and then all of his different figures. He's had a lot more figures than we would have thought, maybe on first glance. However, he's a guy that's very well underserved in current action figures, as there are so many great Crush figures that we would love to see in the Mattel Elite line, or somebody to make out there. So very cool, and a lot of cool stuff here. And this was one of the harder top 5s to ever have to do. And a lot of people were like, does he even have 5 figures? Well, he's got pretty much. I think you could maybe even eke out a top 10 almost. He might have like 8 or 9 figures, but could be 10. But a very difficult one for me to do. I really struggled with this top 5, and I'm probably going to struggle in the future. I bet you if you ask me 6 months from now, this top 5 might change around a little bit. And every once in a while, I'll do a little caveat. I'll do a little honorable mention. We'll call this one number 6, at least for right now. But I wanted to throw this one out there because I really struggle with this top 5, and a lot of the order I even really struggled with. But I'm going to go number 6 just to talk about it really quick. It goes to the Jakks Classic Superstars line. We go to the Walmart exclusive 3-pack for Crush Demolition version. I really, really like this figure. This one is very underrated, a very expensive figure, as this is the only Crush from Demolition time frame in the Classic Superstars line. And it was only available as a Walmart 3-pack. Now, we got Axe and Smash in a 2-pack, solo releases as well, but this is the only time we got this version of Crush. And this Crush is pretty good. This is a very good head sculpt, everything. It looks like Crush. Really, really do like this one. It's a sleeper figure, and I wanted to make sure I talked about it at least briefly here in this very video. So without further ado, get your list together. As I always say, this is my list. Put your list in the comments down below, and let's kick it off at number 5. All right, we kick off the Crush top 5, and number 5, we go back to a little bit more forgotten era of Crush, but one version that really stole a lot of hearts back in the day, especially in the prison cells. And what are we talking about? We're talking about Jailbird Crush from the old Nation of the Domination era. Man, talk about a detour, talking about Demolition, Kona Crush, the heel Crush, then to this version of Crush. Absolutely crazy, definitely something different, but a part of the Nation of Domination. This was part of a solo card release, box card releases, released many times in the old BCA days because that's how it was done. But there was always something special about this figure. I always liked this a whole lot, especially during the gang warfare time with the WWE back then in the day with the Nation and the DX, all these different teams going at each other all the time. You just absolutely loved this Crush. I guess Crush was before DX, but you guys know what I mean. The Bariquas, all that kind of stuff. But this Crush was always really cool, and I say it before on this channel, I'm going to say it again right now. I always felt as far as playability went, the Jakks Bone Crunchers were the best. I love Mattel Elites. Obviously, I'm not a player these days, but there's almost too much articulation there on those figures. The Bone Crunchers were perfect for the time, as they took kind of the rubbery feeling of the LJNs, shrunk them down to the Hasbro size, roughly, and gave us a whole new playability, a whole something different, and then real articulation. A lot more than we got with LJN and Hasbro before it. So really a groundbreaking set. And this Crush was really great as far as the playing days. A good-looking figure. Love the black glove on. You can have the loaded glove, whatever you want to do. But definitely a cool version of Crush. And I would love to see one of these days, like a lot of these Crushes we're going to see, to get a Mattel Elite. Would love to see this as a Mattel Elite to put with our Nation. Would be very, very cool. But Crush here, the Bone Cruncher version, coming in at number 5. We carry on in our Crush Top 5 with number 4 coming to us once again from Jakks, but this time we go to the Classic Superstars line for old Kona Crush, a very good one with a mullet you can set multiple watches to. That's how good this mullet is right here. And this is an absolutely fabulous figure that I, for the longest time, blended in with my Mattel Elites because it just holds up with those. It is such a good looking figure. Man, it just screams 90s with the vibrant colors. And Crush, of course, came on the scene. Really thought he was going to be like the next Hulk Hogan or something. A big jacked up dude. Really cool submission move with the squeeze. Really did enjoy Crush. And I was so happy we got this version of Crush in the Jakks Classic Superstars line. And there has not been a version of this Crush since then. So would really like to see this as a Mattel Elite. I think it would be a great one to put there. I mean, you could do a whole line of Crush and his gimmicks in the Elite line, like I did say. But a very cool looking Crush. Probably his most memorable run of all time. I don't know. What do you guys think? Was it Demolition, Jailbird, Kona Crush? Was it his Wrath? I don't know exactly. Or was it him singing songs as Bryan Adams in his former career up in Canada? I don't know. You guys tell me. But this one, there's no doubt, should be on everybody's top 5 Crush list. Would have to imagine it would be. So coming in at number 5 is the Jakks Classic Superstars Crush. We're at the halfway point in our Crush Top 5. You got your list together. Make sure you put it in the comments down below. But coming in here at number 3 is one a lot of longtime collectors have had, or currently have in their collection, I guess you could say. But number 3, we're going it back to the Hasbro line. We're going to Kona Crush for the Hasbro line. Now, of course, this is where we first really remember Crush on the national scene, much like the Jakks Class Superstars one we talked about. This one, of course, being a Hasbro, maybe not as many bells and whistles as the Jakks Classic, but definitely nostalgic, and that's a part of this list. It could be a really bad figure, but nostalgia carries things a lot higher, but this is a very good figure, a very good playability figure. Mr. Perfect body style is kind of what I always think of this as, I guess, but great playability features. Now, if I was Hasbro, I would have gave this the Hulk Hogan kind of Hulkster hug one, put those Hulk Hogan Series 1 Hasbro hands, the open hands, put that on there, and you could have done the Crush with his hands. Now, I think they should have probably done that, but as a kid, I'm very thankful because that Hogan hug one was one of the worst playability Hasbro figures, if you ask me, and that would have made Crush very, very similar. But it would have been on point with the gimmick. It would have been fairly easy to do, you would have thought. But still, this Crush, very iconic. I remember getting this. I remember playing with him all the time. Just a lot of memories with this Crush figure from when I was a little kid in the height of my playing days. So there was no doubt he was going to be on the list. But he comes in at number 3. Getting dangerously close to the end of the list here as we're at number 2 Crush figure of all time. And number 2, we go to the lone example from Mattel. Very early on, he was in the Mattel line. A lot of people kind of forget about this one. But going back to the Mattel Elite line, we did get Demolition Crush. And I'm very thankful we got this. If we were only going to get one version of Crush, I am glad we got this one in the Elite line. Maybe some of the other ones would be better, maybe look a little bit better, but when we already had Demolition, it was nice to really feel like that team was completed. There was no more what if, but we all know there's been so many people screaming about it. When will Mattel get us a new updated Demolition? I don't think it's in the cards anytime soon, honestly. Mattel, of course, I feel bad for those Mattel guys. People always yell, why doesn't Mattel make this? Why doesn't Mattel make that? Well, believe you me, Mattel would make Demolition tomorrow if they could. There's a lot more to it. They have to have approval from WWE. Mattel has to approve it. And then, of course, the talent has to approve it. And as of right now, Demolition doesn't want anything to do with the WWE. I mean, they've said it at numerous autograph signings lately. They want to back up the money truck to them. Then they'll make a deal. I don't know. Eventually they'll have to. I think it will happen. But we're going to have to live through some of these third-party companies, the Epic Toys of the world, for our Demolition figures. But Crush, of course, not as iconic as Axe and Smash. He kind of came later on to give Axe a little breather, to build some extra stuff into the group there, of course. Give him the old Freebirds rule. But this version of Crush is very cool. There is no denying it. Of course, I'm a sucker for the Judas Priest studs and leather. You guys know I love me some face paint, so there's no doubt he was going to be on my list. I really do like this one. I do say that Jakks one, though, is really good as well. We talked about that as kind of an ancillary one. We'll call him number 6. But this one is really special, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this was probably the last Crush figure ever released. If I'd have to do the math on that, but I think that is correct. But a very good-looking figure, one that's screaming for an update. Would love to see updated Demolition. Can you imagine a Demolition 3-pack Ultimate? Oh, my heart couldn't take it. My heart couldn't take it. But this Crush, absolutely phenomenal. from the WWE Mattel Elite line, Crush, coming in at number 2. What is number 1? Get your list together and stay tuned. The time has come. We're at the number 1 spot in our top 5 Crush countdown. Remember to put your list in the comments down below. Make sure you put them in order. That's the fun part. That's the challenging part. But make sure you do all that. And don't forget to like this video. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Every single Thursday we got countdown videos. You guys know it's a tradition here on the channel. But we got tons of other content around that as well. So make sure you do subscribe. And don't forget to like the video as well while you're here. But let's dive in. Let's talk the number 1 Crush figure of all time. And like I said earlier, sometimes it might not be the best figure ever, but nostalgia really does pull some things up to the top. And that's how it goes here with me. As out of all my years of playing with Crush figures, this was the one that shined the brightest for me. And what are we talking about? Well, we're taking it back to the tag teams Hasbro 2-pack. Demolition Crush, of course, he did come with Smash. And then Axe and Smash were sold separately, as we do know. But talk about a game changer in your child fig fed playing with your toys. Big deal to get this Crush. And we had to get another Smash, which wasn't the ideal, but I was okay. I was okay getting another Smash there because this Crush, I needed it in my collection. So many battles with the LOD teaming up with the Ultimate Warrior against all 3 members of Demolition. And then every once in a while reenacting the Survivor Series with Mr. Perfect and the Texas Tornado as well. Just a lot of fun time playing with this Crush. Loved the Freebird rule when I was a kid playing with them. Just so many good times playing with my Hasbros, and this Crush really energized the Fig Fed day. I'll never forget bringing him home for the first time. Such a magical thing, and you can say that about any toy when you're a kid. So magical to get a new toy when you have a collection of going, be it G.I. Joe, He-Man, Marvel, or wrestling. Bringing some new ideas, some new thoughts, some new figures into it all, changed the dynamic of your playing. It was such an enjoyable time. Missed that immensely in your old age, but I still get a little bit of that when you get a new figure and you get to put them in the case. So you get a little of that still. But Crush was a game changer back then. Still a game changer now. Obviously, face paint, here for it all day. He's got the very common Greg Hammer Valentine I always think of with this. A pose we've had many a times in the old Hasbro days. But one of the best pose, one of the best playability figures of all time is this posing. So that was always good. I'm glad Crush wasn't a jumper or something like that. But just a lot of fun. Very nostalgic, and something like this with the nostalgic aspect of it, the face paint aspect of it, of course being a Hasbro, one of the greatest wrestling lines of all time, carries this one all the way to number 1 over the rest of the competition. But looking back as a whole, man, Crush has had some really good figures, and it is sad that we don't get any current day Crush figures with all the new bells and whistles and technology. And if, let's say, Mattel signed him, there are so many different looks. We could get Chronic, we could get Jailbird, we could get Demolition, we could get Kona Crush, we could get Evil Crush, another Hasbro, but he was left off this list. Not quite there for me. Didn't quite resonate with me, but so many looks of Crush that we could get. It is just truly a shame. So I'm hoping sometime in the future, Crush gets signed, we get some Crush figures, and all will be right with the world, or something like that. But there it is, Crush, the top 5 list. Once again, make sure you put your list in the comments down below. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on the old notification bell, and don't forget we got videos every single day, and even more, including early access to videos like this over on the Patreon channel, your best way to support the channel and all the content. You can also support the channel over at ProWrestlingTees.com. Search Kyle Peterson, and then don't forget social media. SirPaul64 on Twitter, Instagram, _Kyle_Peterson. So for the mighty Crush in all of his forms, I am Kyle. See you guys all real soon.